Just back from IT Nation Secure 2025 and right outside of Orlando. It was a great event. Many vendors, many MSPs, just focused on security. The keynote kicked off and there was 4 people up on stage, a panel, and they were from different companies, not just ConnectWise. ConnectWise is trying to make this community, not just what they offer, but with others as well. But the vendor hall was full. There was lots of great vendors. I was able to have 16 conversations with great guests right there at the resort. I had great guests, great guests. First started with Gene Templin, MSP Sales Reimagined. Gene's in the Pitch It program, the new ConnectWise. It's not new, but new for this year. Incubator program. Jamie Williams, my friend from a long time ago, marketing before sales. MSPs, are you listening? Oh, Ricardo from Lumu. Yes, my fellow aviator. I've known Ricardo for a couple of years now, and great conversation. Ricardo. Oh, Rayanne, of course, Rayanne from ABC. The name of the episode is From Cables to Closing. Fascinating backstory to Rayanne and what she does now, also in the Pitch It program. Mike Estep from Blackpoint Cyber. Great story from MSP to vendor now. Blackpoint's a great security company, and it was a great conversation with Mike. Mark Balanov, first time I met Mark, really great conversation. Really enjoyed it. Talking about cyber lessons. David Chernitsky, fascinating background from Russia to Israel to Canada to what he knows about the martial arts and everything he learned from the best people in cybersecurity there in Israel. Great conversation. David, Matt Holland, first time I met Matt, great conversation from Spy Tech to MSP Simplicity. Tanner Cookson, fascinating from great company. MSPs getting paid quickly. We talked about rowing, riding, and revenue. Tim Weber, cybersecurity firm now. He's a volunteer firefighter in Connecticut, my home state. Joel Cahill, great conversation with Joel. I've known Joel for quite a while now. First time we ever sat and talked like this. The episode's Cold Plunges, Hot Takes, and Cyber Strategy. But great conversation with Joel. Paul Lupo from Bitdefender. Paul's been around for quite a while, and he has great stories and great insight on the great company that Bitdefender is. David Rasapor from ConnectWise, new CPO. Wonderful insights from David, his background in Iran, and David is just a true engineer. Ozzy Saeed from Compliance, he actually helped write the specs to CMMC. Fascinating conversation with Ozzy and the saltwater fish tanks as well, one of his great hobbies. Sarvash Rao, of course, I've known Sarvash for a couple of months now, really focusing on MSPs, helping those SMBs with his with the security platform. And of course, ended with Matthew Benazari. Great conversation about, started with climbing. He's a great climber, about cyber fires and MSP fortitude there at Arete, and great conversation. Thanks all for being part of this, and thanks everyone for listening and watching.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others.
Yeah. So how much of rowing is the legs?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say it's probably like 70%.
70?
It's a big amount. Yeah.
I did some rowing when I was with CrossFit. I've played soccer all my life, so I got big legs. But yeah, the cheat was stop using your arms so much. Use your legs.
Yeah. You gotta use your legs. You gotta put your back into it.
Yeah.
Arms is just like
it's like a horizontal
squat.
It's
like the follow through. Yeah.
And
you've already got the momentum once you get to your arms.
Right. Use the big muscles.
Exactly.
And where did you do rowing?
I rowed all through high school, all through university. I went to Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario.
Wow.
So up in the Great White North, and I rode my whole life.
And the young, and I was going to say young, the light fellow on the top doing the yelling, the cock.
Oh, the coxie, yeah.
So, like, what's the skill there? Like because he's either the captain, he or she the cat. Like, where's their role?
They're kind of like the captain. They steer the ship.
They steer it.
They steer it too. Yeah. So they actually have cables, and they steer the direction of the boat. But they're the ones that get everybody organized, in line,
interesting,
motivated. They call the shots. You know, they're the ones. They're basically the coach in the boat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they former rowers?
It's not necessarily all the time. Usually these people are pretty dedicated in their craft, and some of them maybe are, but yeah.
I see them as like jockeys almost.
Kind of like that, yeah.
But I didn't realize they steer, because they have to steer. Everybody else has got the rows in their hand. Yeah, so somebody's got to steer that.
Yeah,
thing.
Somebody's got to steer the boat. Yeah,
but they have the megaphone
boat.
in their hand, right? How are they steering with?
Well, it's hooked up on. They have like something like this microphone, and they're just talking into that, and then there's a speaker system. But it's not on every boat. So I rode in a lot of boats without the coxie, that were just like it's either a 4 or a double or a single, and you're steering the boat on your own. And so only usually in the bigger boats do you have a coxie. Yeah.
And you have to turn your wrist to flatten out the oars.
Yeah.
And the same way every time.
Same way every time. Rowing is like the most repeatable stroke in the world, but yet it's so difficult, and so much of it can be broken down into little bits.
Really?
So it's quite interesting from that standpoint.
Maybe like the golf swing?
It's kind of like a golf swing. You know, why is golf so difficult when you're doing the same thing over and over again?
But there's different length clubs.
There's yeah. There's a little bit more like, I guess, feel within a golf swing. Rowing, you're literally on tracks, so you can't really move side to side. You can't really do all this stuff. So there's a pivot for the oar, and then the seat is literally on a track, so you can only do so much. But yet still there's a ton of differences within how you can execute within that.
And is it always long strokes, or do you tighten it up and go quicker as you get towards the finish line?
Yeah, you usually like tighten it up, go a bit quicker at the start, go a bit quicker at the finish, a little bit longer in the middle. And yeah, there's some different things you can do with the length of it as well.
How'd you get into it?
My family has always been into it. So we are like a very long time rowing family. My father rowed for Team Canada.
Whoa.
I grew up, I probably learned to row as quick as I learned how to skate. Coming from a Canadian, it's pretty early. Yeah.
I'm from Connecticut, and I played golf, and I actually played with a family who made the sculls. What are the boats called?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I forgot their name, but this was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But how about the crafting of it's not a boat, it's called a skull? Do I have that right?
Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah.
A lot of technology there?
Yeah, expensive, a lot of technology. Yeah, it's gone from all wood, now it's all carbon fiber. Super light.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff.
And the oars themselves are carbon fiber as well?
Exactly.
Are they bent at all?
No, the actual shaft is just like a straight carbon fiber shaft, and then the blade of it has a little bit of a curve. It's kind of like a spoon to grab the water.
A spoon to grab the water, but it doesn't have edges on it. It's got to remain flat.
No, it's got like a little curve. Like imagine
curve.
like
a
half spoon that's kind of like a rectangle.
I see.
Yeah.
And is there cheating? How do people cheat with oars, with the equipment?
I think with like steroids and performance enhancing drugs, there's probably a few ways, but you can't really cheat. And this is this is one of the benefits of like time-based sports, is that there's no way to cheat. Like there's a start line and a finish line, and you can't take a shortcut. It's just straight.
Your father has stories about being in the Olympics.
Yeah.
That must have been something.
Yeah.
Very cool. Did he win any medals? I mean, does he have stories? Do I know any famous crew people? I don't think so. Was there, like, who's the most famous person in crew that I may know, or the public may know?
I don't know.
Not
The
many.
Winklevoss twins?
Oh, geez, the Facebook, yeah, Harvard. Yeah, they're not known. That's right, they did do that. Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that, yeah. Do you still do it now?
Not anymore. I transitioned out of that. I actually went from rowing to then cycling. I took up cycling after I was a rower for a few years. And then I decided I got to start my job. I got to start work life. I got to have responsibilities now. It's time to get into the work world.
I've seen the practice facilities though at these things. There's like rushing water and like the stationary, like the practice facilities are very impressive.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in some of these things. Yeah. Some people, if you get into the right program, the right school, then their infrastructure is amazing. Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
You can practice without going on the water.
Going
outside.
on the water, yeah.
Yeah.
And cycling. I mean, the problem, I used to do some triathlons. The problem with cycling, to me, Tanner, is that you have to go 4 or 5 hours to get a really good workout.
Yes, yeah.
That's the problem.
That is the challenge.
Yeah.
That is the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you can, for the time it takes, like, if you do a 30, 45-minute run, I mean, that's like the equivalent of doing 2-3 hours on the bike. So it's a ton of time, but
there's
also
no impact on the body.
But there's no impact.
Right.
It's light. It's fun. You can be out there all day. You're in the wind. You're in the sun.
Yes.
It's a good time. Yeah.
And learning how to effectively manage the upstroke in cycling is a real skill.
Yeah, they don't tell you about that.
No,
you only
they
think
don't.
about the downstroke.
Yes. Because we're used to strapping our feet in, not bolting and not plugging them in. Yeah.
Exactly.
When I did the triathlons, I learned that. Yeah. You still have to pull up.
You still got to pull up.
Not down.
Yeah. So your leg doesn't get a break at all.
That's right. And not at all. Yeah. In both ways.
Yeah.
And you don't cycle anymore?
I still do a bit. Yeah. So funny enough, like I never was into cycling, but then I rode my bike across Canada.
Whoa!
Right after university with a friend of mine. And we did it for charity, and I actually got hooked on cycling because of that trip.
Whoa. Like Nova Scotia to Vancouver? What's it mean to go across Canada?
The opposite way, but Victoria to St. John, Newfoundland. So like legitimately the whole thing, not just the mainland part.
Right. Wow, how long did it take you?
53 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
53 days. Wow. How many of you did it?
There's 2 of us.
Wow.
So me and my friend.
Did you document it?
Yeah, we documented a lot of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
This was right after I graduated. So this would have been in 2015.
Wow. That's really freaking cool. So we're here, Tanner, at ConnectWise IT Nation Secure, big event here outside of Orlando. What are some of your goals this week?
This week it's really just kind of learning from the audience, having a lot of good conversations. I love going to these events. We go to a fair number of them. I probably go to one per month myself. But just the opportunity to learn from the audience you sell into. There's no better place to do it than actually having face-to-face conversations.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
What's been your introduction to MSPs? How were you first introduced to managed service providers?
I was actually first introduced through alternative payments. Yeah, so this is my first stint in the MSP world and got introduced through here. And when I originally started, it was it's a whole new world. I came from a couple of different industries. In the past, I worked for ed tech, so we sold into colleges and universities. And it's quite night and day difference to that market.
Yeah. And what surprises you about MSPs?
The biggest thing is the just peer support. So in any other industry, there's just like no level of sharing advice, sharing success, sharing failure, sharing all of these things that compares to how the MSPs do it. And I respect this industry so much for that fact alone.
And you're in a very unique business. Tell me about alternative payments. We actually use you've been using your platform for years.
Yeah, so we do payment processing for MSPs primarily, but any type of business. And yeah, we really automate the full invoicing flow, collection flow. So if you want to accept credit cards or ACH transactions and have that integrate into all your systems, that's essentially what we do.
And MSPs kind of take that for granted. How are you accepted by MSPs? Is it a long sales process?
It's actually relatively quick. Like our average sales process is 15 days.
Wow.
So it's quite high velocity actually, and the reception is super strong. At the end of the day, everybody has to get paid, and the quicker and more cost efficient that you can do that, again, it creates a really win-win scenario at the end of the day.
Now, Tanner, tell me about the big issue with charging credit card fees, how we can charge them back to the client and not get knocked for them.
Yeah, so a lot of it's state dependent, right? So in some particular states, there's some additional like legal requirements. For the most part, all across the U.S., it's totally acceptable to surcharge. Now, typically surcharging is just difficult, right? So you have to add like a line item. Maybe you bake it into your, cost of invoice, and, you just add it up in that side. But really, like, the easier you can make that process and the less you can actually surcharge at the end of the day, creates a mutually beneficial agreement for MSPs and their clients as well.
So when an MSP is looking for a company that does payment processing, what questions should they be asking?
Really it should be based around their process, right? Like at the end of the day, you want to find a system that is really well integrated. You want to find a system, you should ask a lot of questions around like all of the fees, any hidden fees, usage fees, percentage of revenue fees. Like there's all of these payment processing in general. And one of the reasons we're around is because it's so convoluted.
Yes.
You can sign up with the merchant processor, and then the next month you have an invoice with 30 line items on it. Jeez. And you're just trying to figure out what the heck you're paying for at the end of the day. Yeah. And so the more you can learn that up front, obviously the more educated decisions you can make. But again, we're really trying to simplify this process so people don't have to go through that.
So you help MSPs do what better?
I would say get paid faster,
right,
at the end of the day.
And who would not want that? And how do vendors become better partners with MSPs?
I think a lot of it stems from listening, right? The MSPs they're the ones that are in the weeds, right? They are in the weeds every single day, especially from like an accounts receivable perspective. A lot of the times it's the CEO that's managing that full process. And so they're hyper aware of like where those challenges are, where the pain points are, where the opportunities are. The more people can listen to them and like really take their advice seriously and implement it into their roadmap, I think that's how you create better win-win scenarios, and that's how you create better relationships from the vendor side. It's also how you get more MSPs to really appreciate and buy into what you're doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you ever work with the MSP's clients as well?
Yeah, we do. We try to do it in a relatively hands-off way as an opportunity for the MSP to implement our system into their clients, and then offer some type of we offer a revenue share agreement as part of that. So a way for them to recoup a lot of their costs. And so we try to do it in a way that, again, is only beneficial to the MSP in the long run.
Tanner, has there been anything in the last month or so you changed your mind on?
That's a super interesting question.
Large, small, doesn't matter.
I don't know if I have something that comes off the top of my head. I'm trying to think Actually, I've changed my mind. So I have one for you. AI, a lot of it. AI.
Okay.
AI. Yeah.
How has AI influenced this industry?
So from me, I'll take a little bit of personal, and this is a little bit separate from the MSP conversation in particular, but for me, I've always thought hey, AI is like this, there's still a lot of work to go. there's still a lot of like these use cases that I can't really think of, and I'm not really sure how they're going to apply to me. We're trying out a few different tools right now and completely changed my mind. I think it's like here now.
Really?
You can use it as like a sales coach, a sales trainer. We're testing out this system right now that literally you jump on a call and they can act as a prospect. That's an MSP that knows who our prospects are, that knows their pain points, that knows their integration. And it's a way basically to scale training. Completely changed my mind on what I think the capabilities of AI are and the use cases that they can be applied to. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal.
And what made you change your mind there? Just some use cases?
Really just testing. Just testing, taking a bigger look and like actually trying these things out. And, again, I always thought like I've been late to the game, right? I've been using like ChatGPT as like this tool to like search up what my weekly routine should be or what I should cook for dinner.
Right.
But actually like seeing these systems in real life and testing them and figuring out like, hey, how have they applied it? Because from an AI perspective, like I always thought I had to be the expert and I had to create all these things. But there's amazing companies that are doing it and have created it for you. And now that I've tested them, it's kind of completely changed my mind on what's capable here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I started my MSP back in the 90s. Was working way too hard, 14, 16-hour days. In front of the doctor, she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. She says, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So it scared the hell out of me, Tanner. And I started, it took about 6-7 months, I was about 120 pounds. Started doing triathlons, by the way, biking. And when I tell people this story, they say, how'd you do it? What's your secret? And there's no secret. I say always discipline. So how does discipline play a role in your life, Tanner?
Discipline has played a role in my life for forever. Obviously, you can imagine like growing up rowing in a rowing family, like my normal day started at 4:30 in the morning. And I did that for over 10 years.
Did you really?
And then I transitioned and then rode my bike across the country. It was the same thing. You're exhausted, you're tired, you're in the middle of nowhere. You have nobody around you and you want to take it easy, you want to sleep in. And really all you have to do is just rip off the Band-Aid, get up and just start. Just start, right? You don't need to think about all of these other things. It's easy to overthink things. And I take that same philosophy and approach to a lot of what I do now, which is whatever it is, just start. And that gets you so much farther than you think you can go. And that's that aspect of discipline. But I try to take that approach, continuously every day.
So being in I was going to say high functioning, but in a family like that where rowing was, father was in the Olympics, was discipline talked about or was it just assumed and instilled?
I think it was just like, that's how our whole family operated. Right. And so like, I always joke around with this with, my friends or my wife, and they're like, oh yeah, like, I'm just going to take a sick day. It's like, I never had a sick day at all through growing up ever. Like we just like got up and went, and that was never a thing that I knew was possible. But I think it's certainly there is some like factor of growing up in that environment where you're just so ingrained into it that, again, waking up at 4:30 for rowing practice just seems normal.
That's absolutely incredible. What motivates you, Tanner?
You know what? There's a few different things. Like to me, I'm super grateful and lucky to be in a position of leadership right now. To me, a big part of like what motivates me and why I love the position I'm in and why I'll continue to invest in myself and others is because I love to help develop people at a young age and open up what they see as possible for themselves. I think there's few things in life that give more satisfaction than seeing that. And again, you evolve in because of that as well, right? And so it's really that win-win environment.
So given that motivation, being in this position in the win-win environment, how do you measure success?
Well, sales is quite easy, right?
Yeah.
It's all quantitative, so we
Sure
can measure
is.
it from a revenue perspective
Closes,
and from a
yeah,
close perspective, a win rate perspective. But I look at things long term. Like I still have a lot of folks that I keep in touch with from previous jobs that I've managed in the past, and to me, it's about seeing like where they've gotten to, how they've succeeded, how they've flourished, and like that to me is like the longer term like track record and what that looks like. So not just like, hey, what is this month? What can we close this month? Like I always try to look at a longer term vision of like, where are people going? Where am I going? What are we all doing this for? Why are we all doing this? And again, if people can define that, articulate that, then you're moving in the right direction.
Very cool. So your message this week here in Orlando at IT Nation Secure Tanner to the MSP community is what?
The MSP community is what in terms of?
No, your message.
Oh, my message
to the MSP community this week is what?
My message to the MSP community this week is honestly to continue collaborating.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think that again, like that's the coolest thing of what I've noticed over the past 2 years being in this industry is just like how open and honest people are, and continue that, double down on that. Like that to me is insane. Like where everybody is going to lift because of that dynamic that exists here. And as if you can retain that, keep that, invest in that, everybody here is going to come out on top.
Yeah, they certainly are. Tanner, I thank you so much for your time. Anybody listening or watching, how can they get in touch with you?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. Always responding, always there. Tanner Cookson. You will be able to find me pretty easily, or by all means, send me an email, tanner@alternativepayments.io.
Cookson, Cookson.
You got it, Cookson.
Cookson, yes, yes. Tanner, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joey.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.